A dangerous storm will be coming to the United States over the next few days, and this is going to bring the return of significant severe weather, which includes damaging winds, large hail, and even tornadoes. Additionally, the tropics could heat up very quickly over the next 7 days, as we are watching a tropical wave in the Caribbean Sea that has a chance to go towards the Gulf. So in today's forecast, we're going to break down exactly what you need to know about the weather that'll be impacting the United States over the next 7 days, and we'll begin with what's happening across the country today. And we currently have a big storm that is sitting over Utah and also just to the west of the Rockies. This is a pretty rare storm. It already brought a severe weather event to California just a few days ago, and it's going to continue to bring some on and off showers and thunderstorms across the Great Plains for the next couple of days. But really, the big event is going to be on Saturday and Sunday, where we are expecting the potential for a more scattered to numerous day of severe weather, with all hazards of severe weather being on the table. And that's primarily going to be across parts of the Midwest, the central and southern plains, and even through the Ohio Valley. This is not a super common storm for the middle of October, but this is the beginning of our second severe weather season that is going to be very active, I think. I think we're going to have several severe weather events over the next few weeks, and this is going to be the beginning of more than likely a bunch, so definitely get ready for that. Along the East Coast, things are very quiet. Back on the West Coast, things are also very quiet for the time being, but that could change over the next few days. Now, over the next 7 days, we are anticipating our weather to get extremely active, with several different severe weather events being possible. So let's talk more about that by looking at our jet stream. This is what it looks like right now. We got a very broad and kind of disorganized area of low pressure that is sitting back over here in the Pacific Northwest. This is going to bring some isolated severe weather today and tomorrow to the Great Plains, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. High pressure is dominating across the southeast. That's keeping things warmer and drier for the time being, and a strong low pressure system located just off the coast of New England is bringing colder weather out of Canada to many areas across the Northeast, including New Hampshire, Vermont, and also New York. Now, as we go into this weekend, that is when we're anticipating a stronger storm to develop over the Rockies. Notice how we're going to have a low pressure system eject over into Canada, but a brand new low pressure system is going to form across Colorado and New Mexico, and this is what's going to bring the risk of significant severe weather on Saturday and Sunday. This is going to begin Saturday afternoon across parts of the Ozarks and also the Mississippi Valley, where there will be a threat for damaging winds and tornadoes. As we go into Sunday, this risk of severe weather will start to shift further to the east, and our low pressure system is also going to intensify, which means that we could see a more substantial risk of damaging winds occur on Sunday across the Ohio Valley and even the Great Lakes region. So we have 2 days of severe weather that we need to keep a very close eye on. I do think Saturday has the highest ceiling. I do think Sunday is going to be kind of a middle end day where we're most likely just going to be mostly talking about a wind threat, but with how strong our low and mid-level winds are going to be across the Ohio Valley, I definitely would not rule out a few tornadoes as well, perhaps embedded in a line of thunderstorms. On Monday, that low pressure system moves into the northeast with lots of rain, high winds continuing as well. Wind gusts will be a big story out of this particular storm system. And look at this, by Monday and Tuesday, we got another big storm that's going to come right over Canada and also across the northern plains. And this could lead to more severe weather on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week across parts of the Midwest and the Ohio Valley. So we don't really have an end in sight right now to this active weather pattern, because even beyond Wednesday of next week, there will likely be more storm systems. We could get another one that forms across the desert Southwest. That could lead to more severe weather, and even this storm system continuing to cause problems along the East Coast by the middle of next week. So buckle up. The weather is taking a big turn right now. Now, we have plenty of severe weather that is upcoming over the next few days. It actually begins today. The Storm Prediction Center has a small marginal threat of severe weather for parts of Nebraska, Kansas, and Colorado, where isolated damaging winds, hail, and even a brief tornado will be a possibility this afternoon and into the early evening hours. This does include North Platte, Nebraska, so stay weather aware and have ways to receive warnings. On Friday, the risk of severe weather will continue to shift east across Kansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma. This does include Oklahoma City and Kansas City, where more damaging winds and hail will be a possibility. It should remain quite isolated. Saturday is one of the bigger days of severe weather that we've had in quite some time. The Storm Prediction Center has a slight risk of severe weather in place, which includes the Ozarks. Almost all of Arkansas is in this risk. Northeast Texas and northern Louisiana, with the marginal risk extending from western Ohio into central and southern Louisiana. All hazards of severe weather will be on the table, including damaging winds, large hail, and tornadoes. There could even be an isolated strong tornado on Saturday with how intense our low-level winds are going to be across Arkansas and Missouri. I do think our greatest tornado risk will exist here in southern parts of Missouri and northern Arkansas. Our more significant damaging wind risk should also be in this corridor. Wouldn't be surprised if we get an enhanced risk of severe weather in a future outlook for this region, so definitely make sure that you're staying weather aware. Also, a live stream on this channel is likely for Saturday. We'll have storm chasers in the field covering this as well, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon so you're notified if and when we do go live. Now, one of the reasons why Saturday could be a pretty significant day of severe weather is because our low-level winds are going to be intense. They will really intensify throughout the afternoon and evening hours across the Ozarks and across the lower Midwest, which means that any supercells that are to form in this environment are dealing with very strong low-level wind shear, which could lead to the potential for a few tornadoes. It's not a slam dunk right now because storm mode is going to be the key to what happens on Saturday. If we have more discrete supercells, I could see there being a maybe even a small-scale tornado outbreak. However, if it turns into a linear mess right off the bat, the threat of tornadoes will be lower. It will definitely not be zero, but it will definitely be on the lower side of things. So right now, Saturday has a pretty high ceiling, and what I mean by that is that we could see a tornado outbreak, but also on the other side of things, this could be a low-end day where a more dominant wind threat would be in place, with a couple of tornadoes still being a possibility. These are your significant tornado parameter values for Saturday afternoon and evening. The NAM model here is indicating that our values will be increasing as we go into the evening hours across Arkansas, Missouri, and far eastern Oklahoma, and it does show our most significant tornado corridor actually being around or just after sunset around and south of St. Louis, all the way through central and northern Arkansas. Again, storm mode is key though. If this is all a linear line of thunderstorms, this will probably not be used up very much, and it'll mostly be a wind threat with a low-end tornado risk. And Sunday, I think we'll have the threat of at least damaging winds, if not even a few tornadoes, anywhere from about eastern Tennessee all the way through parts of Ohio and Pennsylvania. So stay weather aware on Sunday as well. Now let's talk more about the timing of severe weather for Saturday. This is what it looks like during the morning. We'll have scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms stretching from Michigan into eastern Oklahoma. By the time we get to lunchtime, we're still going to have a lot of showers out there. This could actually stabilize the atmosphere for the afternoon hours, which may limit the severe weather risk. So this is something that we'll be keeping an eye on for Saturday. But I think when we're really going to start to see the uptick of severe weather would be by around 2 to 3 o'clock across northwestern Arkansas and extreme southern Missouri, where initial supercells will form with damaging winds, some large hail, and maybe an isolated tornado. The Rufus model, which is the model I'm showing you, has this going almost all linear by 6 o'clock, which means that a damaging wind risk would be the most substantial threat, pushing into Kentucky, western Tennessee, and also northeastern Arkansas. And then by 7 to 8 o'clock, this continues across central Arkansas all the way through Kentucky. And then as we go into the late evening and overnight hours, that line of thunderstorms weakens. And then by Sunday morning, we're going to probably have a pretty quiet start for Kentucky and Tennessee, but a line of thunderstorms will begin to ramp up across Ohio. And then as we go into Sunday afternoon, a continuation of at least some isolated to scattered severe weather will continue from the edge of the Dixie Alley all the way through the northeast. So continuing throughout the day on Sunday, we'll have a line of thunderstorms pushing through New York, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and perhaps some isolated severe weather into parts of Kentucky and Tennessee. Damaging winds will be the main concern. A couple of tornadoes will definitely be in play. As we go into Sunday evening and eventually into Monday morning, those storms will push into New England, where isolated gusty winds and some small hail will be a possibility during the overnight hours Sunday and early Monday morning. And then as we go into Tuesday, that is when our next big storm could form. So we could have one right behind this one, and this could also bring the potential for severe weather and even some snow to the northern plains. Another thing I want to point out is look how tight these isobars are. That basically indicates that it'll be very windy on Monday and Tuesday from the Great Plains into the Midwest. So get ready for that if you have any Halloween decorations outside. Also, something I want to mention is on Monday night, I do think there is a chance for severe weather across the Midwest and even into the Mississippi Valley, depending on the timing of the low pressure system. So this is something we'll be keeping an eye on. It's still about 5 days from now, so things could definitely change, but definitely keep an eye on this if you're in the Midwest or the Mississippi Valley. Tuesday, I think we're going to have a more organized risk of severe weather take place across parts of the Ohio Valley, with damaging winds and a few tornadoes being a possibility. Low pressure continues to spin across the Great Lakes Tuesday into early Wednesday, and then by Thursday, high pressure will make its return to the East Coast. So overall, a very active next 7 days are ahead. And another thing that's pretty concerning is that the Climate Prediction Center has put out their latest tropical hazards outlook. This is between October 22nd and 28th. So this basically begins in the next 6 to 7 days. There is currently at least a 40% chance of tropical cyclone development in the Caribbean Sea. The reason why this is concerning is because by Tuesday, a tropical wave will be located just to the west of the Lesser Antilles. It could start to begin to form by this point. If it doesn't, it will likely form somewhere in the central or western Caribbean Sea. This is pretty much an untapped environment all hurricane season long. So if this is to form, there are 3 scenarios that would be on the table. One of which is that this turns out to sea, basically goes over the greater Antilles, maybe creates some impacts, could become a tropical storm, maybe even a low-end hurricane. Another scenario is that this goes right up into the Gulf, which would basically be a very bad scenario, especially with how little this environment has been used so far this season. And then our last scenario at play would be something going in the direction of Central America. So overall, there are 3 scenarios on the table, and obviously this is not a guarantee that this is going to form. However, we need to keep an eye on this during the early to middle portions of next week, as there's a lot of models right now hinting that something could form here. And don't just take my word for it, this is the European ensemble members, which also indicates something tropical attempting to develop by as early as Monday or Tuesday in the far eastern Caribbean Sea. But a lot of those ensemble members really start to come together by the end of next week in the Caribbean Sea, with several different scenarios being at play. We could have a tropical cyclone as far east as Puerto Rico. We could have one as far west as near Central America by that point. It doesn't look like anything is imminent. Even if this were to form, nothing imminent for the United States. There's no reason to go cancel your Mexico trip or even your Disney World trip. There's no reason to do that right now. However, this is something that we'll be keeping an eye on, because if something were to form, once again, it is still prime hurricane season right now, where if something were to form, it could become intense. We are definitely not ruling out one more major hurricane this hurricane season. And as always, thank you all so much for watching today's forecast. If you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. Our next video will likely be tomorrow. Also, a live stream is possible on Saturday and Sunday, so click the bell icon so you're notified with the latest updates. I also want to remind you that we now have a 24/7 live stream on our second channel, More Max Velocity. There's a link at the top of the description. We have a 24/7 weather camera live stream. We just had a big update as well, so there should not be many more crashes on this. It is still in beta. I do want to mention that we also just added storm chasers to this, including John McKinney, Freddie McKinney, and a couple of others, so definitely make sure to check this out. Again, it is the top link in the description below. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you guys all again in the next forecast.